This episode of the Bryant Land Show is brought to you by OnX Hunt.
From Stone Mountain, Georgia, this is the Bryant Land Show. Hosted by proud Gamecock and South Carolinian AB3.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Bryant Land Show. Thank you for taking the time to make the download wherever you are. Hope you are well. Hope things are going in your favor. We have a great show today. We got a great guest, Mr. Kendall Strickland from Strickland Heritage Farms. He's going to be my guest today. But before I jump into that and tell you more about Kendall, you probably heard at the beginning of the podcast, we had a sponsor read for our friends at OnX Hunt. Yes, they are sponsoring the podcast. We are happy to be partnering, working with the good folks over at OnX Hunt. We encourage you to go and check them out. Like I said, they are sponsoring the podcast. And basically what OnX Hunt is, it's a mapping technology, helps you when you're out in the field to be able to mark your stands, mark your trail cameras where you have any kind of deer sign, turkey sign, any kind of animal sign. You can use it to mark your mineral sites and your feeders. I personally use it to mark the trees that I plan on climbing coming up for this deer season. So it's a great app. It has property lines so you know where you are in a given area so you don't trespass, you don't cross property lines. I'm also using it to map out areas for food plots and for the footprint of my house eventually. So OnX Hunt is a great app. I encourage you to go check it out on OnX Hunt. You will enjoy it, and I am very grateful that they have decided to sponsor the Bryant Land Show. So lots of good things coming from us working with them, and I'm looking forward to the partnership. So like I said, you guys go and check them out. Kendall Strickland is the guest this week. Mr. Kenny from the block, if you will, on Instagram, a Chi-Town, Illinois transplant that has come down here to Georgia and set up shop as a farmer. He has his own farm out here in Georgia, and Kenny was somebody that I wanted to talk to just because with him coming from Chicago and then using his education at Florida A&M to build a farm and decide that he wanted to take a step back from corporate America and establish his own farm. Very interesting conversation that I had with Kendall. So with no further ado, I'm going to fall back. You guys kick back and listen to my conversation with Kenny from the block, Mr. Kendall Strickland, on the Bryant Land Show.
Bryant Land.
All right. When I look at your bio, it says farmer, hunter, fisherman, marksman.
That's right. That's it in a nutshell.
Mr. Strickland, Kenny Strickland, thank you for taking the time to come through on the Bryant Land Show, man. Now, with those four things, which one are you best at?
I'd say that's a tough one.
Which one you hang your hat on? If they say somebody say you got to pick one that you know is a for sure. Because all four of them are impressive now. I mean, that's basically a throwback to our ancestors and whatnot back in the day.
Yeah.
But if you had to hang your hat on one,
I'll probably go with fishing. It's hard between fishing and farming because farming is, I mean, I'm all into that. I mean, I'm a farmer. I'm very, that's agriculture is pretty much my whole life. But I will say, if I compare it as far as how long I've actually been on the grindstone doing it, I've been fishing since I was like 7.
wow.
And so that's that. It just comes so natural to me. And I'm when it comes to fishing, I was just thinking about this weekend actually. Like, I'm kind of all or nothing. Like when I go, like I'm gonna do it all the way. 'Cause that's the only way I like to do it. Even if I don't catch anything or don't have a great day, with it, because that's how fish it is. I still like to feel like, I put my all into that morning, into that evening, whatever time, wherever it was at. If it was a farm pond, if it was on the river, I'm like very serious about getting there and getting into it. So I'll hang my hat up on fishing.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's
Yes,
fair.
sir. Mm-hmm.
Now, we've been talking for almost 30 minutes before we actually hit record, and I definitely enjoyed that conversation. But there were a couple of things that, I found in doing just, a little bit of homework. And so when you called me, we talked a little bit, and you Illinois born and raised, right?
Yes, sir.
Where at in Illinois?
I'm from a suburb outside of Chicago called Flossmoor, Illinois, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Illinois has definitely been good to me. When I lived in Milwaukee, I would
Okay.
drive down and goose hunt in Illinois, like right over the border. Of course.
Well, you know the town's name?
Oh God.
Rockford, Marengo.
No, it wasn't that far. It wasn't that far down Rockford. It was, oh God. I bet you if I looked at my pictures, I could probably, because there was one. They always had a water tower, and we hunted in the field right there. There was a cornfield. We goose hunt right there in the cornfield by that water
Loves
tower.
Park.
Which what? Say it one more time.
Loves Park.
That sounds familiar. Loves Park, and then there was another one. It's gonna bother me, but I'm gonna have to
We'll
check it out.
figure it
Yeah,
out.
we'll figure it out because it is definitely gonna bother me now until I figure it out. But
Mhm.
my point that I wanted to get to, Illinois, and then FAMU graduate, right?
Yes, sir.
Agriculture and Mechanical, Florida Agriculture and Mechanical University, Tallahassee, Florida.
That's right.
Now, full-time farmer.
Yeah.
How did that transit? Like, how do you make that transition? Did you grow up farming in Illinois? Was it something that you figured out when you got the fam? Like, what? How? Take me through that.
I'll take you through it, man. See, I grew up around my grandparents, who of course were from the old South, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi. So of course they grew up in agriculture. They grew up at a time in agriculture when it was exceptionally hard to us as a people.
Mm-hmm.
However, those traditions, those methods, those types of things, they still carry on through the years. And it was passed down to me. Just being a little kid, I grew up around a lot of agriculture. My grandparents always had me out in the country. We were always out, picking some apples or, hanging out at our little fishing cabin we had up in Michigan.
Oh wow. Okay.
With just a little house on the river. Just always out in the country, always on the field doing something. So I don't think they knew it at the time, but it was an interest that stuck with me. And, you know, as a kid, I started saying, I want to grow up and be a farmer, want to grow up and be a cowboy. And people just kind of laugh. And then my grandma, she said, "Well, if you just gonna grow up and be a farmer, you might as well go ahead and drop out of school,
Oh
uh,
wow.
because you don't want that life. Trust me, but she was picking cotton from when she was probably 5 or 6 years old. So it agriculture, even though she, of course, had an appreciation for it,
Mm-hmm.
just the idea of farming, like that being the goal.
Right.
It was kind of like, okay, Kendall. But I was a kid. But I got into middle school. They give you those assessments to figure out what it is you probably are going to want to do in life as far as career wise.
Yo.
Every time it come up, agriculture, forestry, farming, fisheries, all that type of stuff. It would come up every time. And so I got into high school and I realized, and that's when I also started hunting.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so I started hunting when I was, I think, 17, 16 or 17. I think it was 17.
And was that with your grandparents, with your granddad, or?
With my granddad,
Okay.
yes. I was fishing, like I said, since I was 7 with my grandma. Then I started fishing with my granddad when I was probably around 11.
That is so amazing to me because it was my great aunt that I used to fish with. I didn't really start hunting till I got older. Basically hunting as an adult. But it's just amazing, like to hear so many stories about learning how to fish with like a grandmother or like a great aunt or a great aunt or
Hmm.
basically any of the women in your family, like learning how to fish. Like I had a young lady on about a month ago, and she loves to fish, and she was talking about how she taught all her children how to fish. It's remarkable to me. And then to take another 2 steps back, when you were talking about farming, when I was a kid, and I've told this story before, I wanted to be a farmer. Like I had like the Ertl tractor. Combine was like my favorite piece of machinery. We lived in the country,
Uh-huh.
surrounded by soybean fields. The guy would stop, give us rides on the combine when he was cutting the soybean field and whatnot. But the same thing happened to me that happened to you. It was just like, nope, that's not the life you want. You don't want to be a farmer. Get far away from that. Go to school. Whatever. It's just like a big old no, no, no. Stay away from it. But unlike me, you went ahead and pursued it, and obviously doing very well at it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think, and I mean, I picked up on this too when I was in college at FAMU. A lot of people who grew up, and mind you, there's a few people who, grew up in farming and they said, they're going to farm the rest of their lives. They're going
Mm-hmm.
to pick up the mantle and they're going to keep on at it. They're going to keep doing it. But there's a lot of folks who I've known personally who, they grew up with that. It was it was a good life, but it was, hard work, long hours in the sun, a lot of times doing stuff that you didn't necessarily want to do, but you had to do because you were a farm kid.
Mm-hmm.
And after they got off the farm, some of them even decide to go work in agriculture, but they did not want to go back and farm. And they will be real quick to advise you against it. They'll be real quick to say, well, why you won't do that?
Right.
What you won't do that for?
Right. Right.
But that's just something I've always had a love for the land. And so when I got to hunting and I was 17, and then like I told you, I had to start hunting mainly on public land. I mean, I got the desire for my own my own land, like to farm and to hunt, possibly to fish someday on. That's what I wanted to have. That was a gold mine for me.
Man.
And when I was 16,
Mm-hmm.
I think what were we doing? I think we had just been fishing that morning. And this is in Kankakee County, Illinois, about 70 miles south of Chicago.
Okay.
We were driving and we saw a sign that said the Pembroke Rodeo. So area called Pembroke Township, Illinois. And it's one of the few rural black areas in the state. And me and my grandparents, we just decided to follow the signs. And we went for miles and miles down a gravel road. And eventually we came across that rodeo. We came across all the black folks out there, having a good time, enjoying themselves. And we also passed the farm, and there was a sign said feeder pigs for sale. Took down the number. I can't remember exactly when, but I eventually got in contact with the guy. At the time, he was in his late 60s. He was a black farmer. He was a good friend of mine as a teenager. And he really inspired me to keep on working in agriculture, keep on farming. Because I worked for USDA, and at the time, I was getting to know him. I like when I was going into college, I was an intern for USDA.
Okay.
And he told me to keep at it. I can still remember his words. Start off small and just expand from there. He's now deceased. He was actually murdered like 7 years ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was murdered right there on his farm. And I think he was 70 years old when that happened. And he was just a single older guy. He knew me. That I come there, hunt whenever I want, for whatever I want. I could target shoot on his property. He didn't care. He was just the coolest older gentleman, and he passed down a lot of gems to me in the short period of time that I knew him. He used to go down there, slaughter some hogs, buy hogs, slaughter it, have some fresh pork at home. Just some really fond memories there. And so that's when I was really like, okay, I need my corner piece of earth just like this guy. This guy. And that's eventually I set out to do that. And like I said, went to college, studied agribusiness at FAMU, got my degree, got my bachelor's back in 2015, and then went on to work for USDA, which I work for now full time. And so, yeah, and I thought that I was probably not going to buy my own land until probably late 20s, maybe early 30s. I didn't want to wait that long, but I just figured, okay, my career is probably going to take me to a few different cities, a few different places.
Right.
So I'll just hold off. But there was a shift in my mind when it came to my career, when it came to what I wanted to do for a living, when it came to building wealth, when it came to the things that I really knew that I was truly passionate about, I really wanted to do. And I was like, I've always wanted to farm, and I've always wanted to have my own agribusiness. And so my career didn't move around like I thought it would.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I came to a crossroad, and I was like, am I going to keep on applying for these jobs in other places and, dealing with the whole interview process and then possible rejection and all that stuff? Or am I going to settle right here? Because Georgia is a very good place for a beginning farmer. We have a very good marketing system here when it comes to, locally produced, commodities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Georgia's a very great state for that. I said, well, I won't do that. I want my own land. At the time, I really wasn't hunting much because all my hunting spots were in Illinois. And down here, as I'm sure you may have found as well, when it comes to private land, everybody just don't let you hunt on private land like that here.
No.
It's very people show you the pictures of the buck,
Right.
but when you go to ask, can I come out with you sometime? It's crickets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm still on the fence about that because, in the spirit of good hunting and being a good outdoorsman, it's always, paying it forward and
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I'm kind of on the fence about it because it's real easy when you have your own. People be quick to label you as selfish, but to me, it's not being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's your own private property. Like you said, like your own little corner, your own little
Mm-hmm.
piece of paradise, and you just want to protect that for you and maybe, family members or future generations and stuff, man. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but, like I said,
I agree.
the spirit of being a good outdoorsman is, pay it forward and then inviting people and things of that nature and whatnot. But man, it's yeah.
I guess it's moderation when it comes to it, because it is funny you say that. I call my farm, my property, my little piece of paradise all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what it is. And you do get very protective over it. Now, I've had people hunt out here, and it's not many, but I have had people. And, most of the times I welcome people I know if you want to hunt. But, at the same time, I probably wouldn't have just anybody and everybody at the same time. It's just something about you wanting to preserve that. But yeah, we definitely have to pay it forward. And but yeah, I had to, just like you, I had to go ahead and get my own piece because I don't think I've ever public land hunted here in Georgia. And I don't know if I ever really intend to. Maybe dove hunting.
Yeah.
But anything other than that, I don't know about that.
It's definitely a blessing. I haven't had to by need hunt public land. I've been out there, there are a couple of public fishing areas, and while I was out there, I've actually seen some nice deer. I've seen the markings and trails that they have marked off for hunter access and stuff like that. So it's kind of intriguing, but at the end of the day, man, and we talked about this before, I'm a big proponent of land ownership, man, because it's something that they don't make any more of. There might be some that opens up, or somebody may sell it or whatever, but it's not like you can run down to the store and get you a half an acre or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't make any more of it, and to have your own land and be able to pass it down to future generations, keep it in the family. I mean, I'm big. People talk about investing and all these different things all the time, but for me, land ownership is just a big deal. And then when you have your own land, being a good steward of the land that you have, man, that just goes hand in hand with it. So I'm a big proponent of farmers or anybody who can have them, or should I say anyone who has the means to be able to have their own.
Right. Yeah, man. I preach the same thing all the time. It's very important. If you can do it, definitely something to consider. It's, like you said, they ain't making no more of it.
Now, you got down to fam and then
Mhm.
came to Georgia. So the coming to Georgia, was that just through your job like with the USDA, working with the USDA? Is that what brought you here?
Pretty
Okay.
much, yep. Career, yep.
Okay. Okay. And then
Mhm.
so you had an epiphany or came to a crossroad, I should say, and it's like, all
Mhm.
right, I'm gonna settle here in Georgia. How did you like go about like the process of like finding the place where he was like, okay, you know what, I'm going to farm? Like, was there certain characteristics in the land that you was looking for, a certain region of Georgia that you was looking for that was better for one thing or another? Like, what was your process?
So, for one, I knew I wanted. It's funny, God will give you exactly what you ask for sometimes. I said, I said from the beginning, and this was years ago. I said, okay, I want at least 10 acres, ideally 15.
Okay.
And the truth about it is, I thought, based on my budget, I thought I'd probably wind up with like at most maybe 6 or 7. A God, and it's funny. I narrowed down some properties. I wanted something that was a mixture of open land and woods,
Okay. Yep.
so I could hunt and I could also farm. I grow muscadine grapes, so I wanted enough, open land where I could plant my vines
Mm-hmm.
and get me a vineyard going, and then possibly some land to graze some animals at some point. And so it was funny. I came between this property, which at the time I thought it was like just under 13 acres, but when I got it surveyed, it was actually over 14 acres. So I got just about 15 acres. And that extra acre and a half, when I found out it was an extra acre and a half, man, I was jumping for joy. I said, man, I hit the jackpot.
Right.
You know, that extra acre and a half, to me, that goes a long way. The other property, it slipped right between my hands. And to be honest, I probably like the house a little better than this house,
Mm-hmm.
but the land was a lot less. It was about 5 acres.
Okay.
However, it had a whole full grown orchard already on it.
Oh wow.
Apple trees, pear trees, plum trees, peach trees, muscadines, blackberry bushes, blueberry bushes, you name it, all over the place. So it really, even though it was only 5 acres, it was a good hunting spot still.
Right. Especially
And
with
I could
all the
have also,
natural vegetation and
mhm,
fruits and stuff.
yeah, and I could have also made some money off of it right out the gate because I already had fruit bearing, and
Mm.
I could have just walked straight into my farm pretty much. But that didn't work out because I think what was it, 20 or 30 minutes before I viewed the house, somebody had already viewed the house, and he went ahead and wrote up a contract, and it wound up going through eventually. So I got this place. I really wanted more open land. I probably got maybe 3 acres of cleared, open land, maybe 2.5, 3 acres, which I'm fine with now because I've made it. I've made it work for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I knew what I really wanted. But when you're working with a certain budget, you kind of have to narrow it down to what you can, reasonably get, what you can reasonably afford. And so, I came across this. It's a 1 bedroom house, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom.
Oh
So
wow.
a good portion, probably at least 40% of what I paid, probably was the land itself.
Right. The land
which I
value.
was fine with. Yeah, It's got water on it, prime hunting area. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
Wow. And
That's what I
then,
did.
and for you, obviously, one bedroom, one bath is just you, so you don't have to
Mhm.
worry about wife and
Right.
kids or anything like that. Although I will say, if you're anything like me, it's like when that time comes, you're gonna have to. She's gonna have to be ready to make that move out in the country. So, if, in your case, you're gonna have
Uh-huh.
to do some expansion to
Yep.
get.
Yep. 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 It's a perfect bachelor pad. It's being a four-legged child. So it's perfect for us right now.
That's
It's
not,
perfect.
nothing wrong with that. Oh
Yeah.
man. So now recently, well, let me go back because like you said, you was looking for the six, like you figured 6 or 7 acres. You basically was doubled, so that was a blessing.
Yeah.
And then you even got like the bonus acre and a half.
Hmm.
So I mean, at the end of the day, everything worked out. Like you basically you doubled up, like more than what you were looking for.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now, once you got that and you got everything going, what all do you have on your farm? Because, like you said, you got muscadines. I looked on Instagram. I see
Hmm.
cows. I saw your dog. I see watermelons, cantaloupes. Like
Yeah.
what? Like is your farm? Obviously, your farm is not like a one specialty like a Angus farm or anything like that. Like is how is it class? Is it classified as a multi-purpose farm? Like what all do you got on there? And then is that what it basically is?
Yeah, I got it's I got different things going on here. Um
I like how you say that.
as
It's
you
like,
can
oh, I got
see,
all kind of stuff going on out here.
man, and sometimes I gotta keep my head on straight with it. Right now, yes, I got two cows, which I'm about to go to the processor pretty soon because I need to get some money off of them. I got my muscadines. I've got like 20 something muscadine plants right now, and I'm still training those up. Think I'll get them to bear probably next year,
Okay.
or at least bear a decent crop next year. Got a small orchard, probably around 14-ish fruit trees, plum trees, and peach trees. Got a small vegetable patch. I did have like 30 something chickens at one time.
I saw that. I saw you got rid of it. You sold the
Ye-
chickens. Let
Yeah.
let's stop right there because
Uh-huh.
that's something that I thought that I want when I finally settle out at my place. Because honestly, I don't want to slaughter them. Like again, I love my great aunt to death. God rest her soul. She had chickens. I didn't see the entire process of chickens
Mhm.
getting slaughtered, but I know the chicken that I played with at 8 o'clock in the morning was on the table at 4:30 for dinner. That much I know.
Yeah.
But I wanted chickens for eggs, like the just some laying hens.
Mhm.
How much work is it in going into chickens, man? Like I've heard that it can be a little tedious, a lot of work. I mean, obviously you got to keep the predators off of them, bobcats,
Mhm.
foxes, coyotes, all that stuff. Like, did you sell the chickens for a profit, or did you sell them because they were a pain in the ass?
I sold them because I was putting more money into them that I could see I was going to get out of them. I had a vision,
Right.
and because of just things that came up, like feed expenses, sometimes it's easy to look at like a feed, say, conversion chart
Hmm.
and estimate before you get an animal how much you're probably going to pay in feed. There's another thing when you get that animal and you start paying that feed bill.
Mm.
and they start eating more and more and more as they get bigger. And so I was buying, no telling how many sacks of feed for the chickens. I had 30 something at one time. And at first, to be honest with you, believe it or not, I actually I forget how many I had, maybe around 20 I had, and I actually was raising them for meat. And then at some point last fall, I got my mind. I said, I really was liking having birds.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, what if I sell them as point of lay hens? And so, so to people who want to start a backyard flock
Okay.
for maybe, depending on the breed of the bird, $25, $30 a bird.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers seem okay, but then the feed costs start adding up. I'm like, okay, so just eating into any potential profit.
Right.
Then I actually did have a predator issue one time, and it was at the very end, right before I was about to probably sell all 30-something birds. I did lose a few birds to the weather. I think it was raining a lot last fall. I lost some of them to that, but I also had, I think it was a coon that got in my chicken tractor, and I had no problems with that chicken tractor. I could move it anywhere I wanted it to. I can't remember how many birds in there, and it probably killed like 6 birds and didn't even eat them or anything. Just went in
Just
there
killed
and
them?
killed them. I think he couldn't. He went in because it's the hoop that makes the chicken tractors made out of like a cattle panel or something.
And
And I
that's
think,
in the chicken track. That's kind of like the coop.
yeah,
Okay.
I have 2. I've got one that's like a steel cage
Mm-hmm.
that I kept my younger birds in, and then my older birds, I kept them on the grass in that chicken tractor. And I mean, it's still an amazing structure, but it was one area on the roof of the tractor that I should have covered with like what you call hardware cloth
Okay.
to make it harder to go in there. And so whatever crawled in must have got in there, was trying to drag one out, killed it, couldn't get it out, and wound up killing a whole bunch more. Couldn't get none of them out, and so it left. And so I went out there one winter morning, and I mean, it was just blood and feathers all over the place.
Oh
And
man.
so at that point, I mean, when I started doing the math, I was like, okay, that's kind of even though those are just 6 birds, that was kind of a loss. So eventually I got to talking to my coworker. She likes raising chickens, for eggs for her family and to give away to some people she knows.
Mm.
So I just sold them to her. At that time, I think I had either the 1 cow or 2. I can't remember. But I said, okay, I want to focus my time and my money on raising these cows.
Mm.
And
Okay.
so that's what I decided to do. I said, I'll come back to birds, but at the time, I was like, it's just, it's I could save that however much I was paying in feed and feed it to my cows. So that's when I jumped off. But they're cool to have if you just want a few, for your own eggs. I'd highly recommend it.
That's what I was gonna say. Like I wanted just like maybe like 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the most. Like I don't want like
Yeah.
a whole bunch. And like I said, just laying hens. Go out there. However often I need to go out there and get me some eggs and just kind of
Hmm.
call it a day or whatever. But you bring up an interesting point. You were saying the feed was, kind of priced you out of any kind of profit. Seemed like
Hmm.
to me with cows, that would be the case, right? Because I mean, they aren't exactly light eaters,
Yeah, you're right about
right?
that.
but
I just put out a 50-pound sack of feed just a couple hours ago, and I guarantee you it's probably about half gone. And I got 2 cows. Well, one of them is a bull.
oh man,
Um, and yeah, he probably hogs down at least 60 to 70% of that. and 50 pounds is gone in a day. But yeah, and to be honest with you, I've watched my profit margin with that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm about to sell them soon, because the more the time goes on, the more you eat into that profit.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
will say, for just starting off in the cattle business, even though I'm probably not going to make much of a profit. Now, mind you, I'm selling them for beef. Like, I'm actually processing them and actually selling the beef,
Okay. Okay.
which, is better for me than like if I was like, other folks who selling calves or, selling them live.
Right.
So I think, they do take a lot of feed. However, if you got plenty of pasture fenced in, you don't really have that problem.
Because they just sitting there
Depending
and
on
they
what.
just graze.
That's right. Depending on the
Gotcha.
quality of your pasture,
Mm-hmm.
even like I intend on eventually fencing in some of my woods, and that way I just don't have to pay nearly as much in feed, and then just the amount of time that I keep them, no more than, I mean, I've had these for probably about 7 to 8 months, but like in the future, I probably will have a cow out here no more than 4 or 5 months. Get it when it's already weaned,
Mm-hmm.
or already, anywhere from 300 to 400 or 500 pounds. Put a little bit more weight on it. Go ahead and take it to the processor and figure out how much you want to make on it based on how much you're going to charge per pound. So, and that's another thing, I didn't think I was going to really get into livestock until maybe 3, 4, 5 years here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But one day I was just doing some research on cattle and raising calves. And I said, it'd be cool to get me one of these cheap bottle calves and bottle feed it and just raise it up and maybe sell it as a veal calf.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I got my bull calf for $60
Wow.
and got like a $90 bag of milk formula. And even though it was a cool experience, I can't necessarily recommend it because, I mean, I was sitting up in the shed with the calf in the wintertime,
Oof.
mixing formula with
Oof.
warm water, trying to bottle feed it, trying to nurse it back to life in the middle of
Ooh.
the dark.
Man.
I said, no, I, I, I ain't doing that no more.
I was about to say, I don't know if I'd be built for that, man. Golly.
No, they got to be already weaned.
What about goats? Like even when I go down by my place, I see quite a few people that
Mhm.
have goats down in Warren County. What is that something you ever looked at? Is there any benefit to that?
Probably very shortly before I bought my first calf, I was just about to hit the button and buy me some goats and some lambs.
Mm-hmm.
I have a buddy of mine actually down in Florida, um, and he raises cattle, goats, and sheep. I was about to buy a few from him. I was going to get started, but I began looking at the numbers on that, and I was like, because I wanted to raise them for meat and sell the meat.
Yep.
And I was just thinking, reasonably how much I could make per pound. And then I was thinking about the carcass weight.
Mm.
And I just began figuring out, and I was like, you know what? I'm even as much as I love goats and sheep, I was just like, I just don't, the profit margins are real slim. And it's like you gotta have quantity. You gotta have a good number of, goats and sheep to move. Whenever it is you plan on processing them and selling them, you gotta have a good number of them, that I feel. it's just me, to really make a good profit out of them.
Right.
But they're really good for, maintaining brush. If you got, a lot of overgrowth in some areas,
Mm-hmm.
if you can fence them in, but that's another thing, keeping them in, you better have you a strong fence. It better either be high enough, or, you might want to run a few, strands of hot wire,
Oh yeah,
because
yeah,
they
yeah, yeah,
will get out.
yeah.
They
And
will
then,
get out.
once they get out, them predators, they'll be all over them.
Sure do. Yeah, man. They love them a good old kid goat dinner.
Man,
They will be all over. But again, if you ever want to clear some brush out, I mean, I think they're a great option. They also, health wise, they get a lot of worms. A
ooh,
lot of stuff can kill them. Like, they might get bloated and they might just die.
oh
Or
wow,
sometimes they just be dead. You don't know why exactly they died, but typically it's either they got bloated or they had some worms. So you always have to worm them, unless you have enough pasture that you can rotate them so that they don't get, that pasture doesn't get too short and they get too close to the ground and they start picking up parasites. If you can rotate them in paddocks, size depending on however many you have, you can cut down on that like that.
and
But shoot, I mean, I think they're pretty cool to have around.
that's something I would have never thought about. I didn't even think about like all the liabilities and stuff that go along with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
That sheep might be a little better. I think sheep are a little easier to maintain, especially when it comes to parasites, and you know they will hop a fence, but not nearly as much as a goat will. So sheep are one to look at too. And sometimes, even though most sheep breeds are primarily grazers, you will find some that are browsers.
Hmm.
So they will clear some of that overgrowth, some of that brush, if you're trying to clear out some areas. So there are a few breeds that will do that.
Now, a couple weeks ago,
Hmm.
you established the Strickland Pride Produce, where
Yes, sir.
basically you went old school, set up a fruit and vegetable stand. What? First of all, congratulations on doing that, because
Thank you.
I saw the post and it looked like it was very successful, and it was something that you put a lot of planning and a lot of time to get to come together. What made you want to go that route, and what was the inspiration behind that? Because that's kind of an old school way to kind of do it.
Hmm. Well, it's something I've always kind of played with the idea of, and maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I think I fell in love with going to country stores, uh, produce stands, places where you can get fresh fruit and vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
fresh fruit and vegetable products like jellies and jams, honeys, food, those types of places. And growing up when I was a kid, riding around my grandparents, that was just something that we like to do. We take a whole day and go somewhere, like we go up to southern Wisconsin. My grandpa, he liked that aged cheese. We go up to Kenosha.
Mm-hmm.
We go up to
Kenosha.
Kenosha.
Yep.
We go he buy like $100 worth of cheese, and that was our outing for the day.
Wow.
We go somewhere down to Indiana, buy some pecans. We go up to Michigan where we had our house, buy some apples, cherries, cherry cider, peaches, those types of things. And so I just loved doing that as a kid. And so I always had an appreciation for, your old fashioned produce stand. I knew a black guy up in Illinois who had his own. older man, probably in his 80s, had his own
Wow.
produce stand. So it's something I always kind of kept in my mind, and I knew I always wanted to have like a solid agribusiness that was connected to my farm,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but also, did something a little bit different. And so a few years ago, it just crossed my mind. I was like, I really want a country store, like a produce stand and a country market. Um, so I just began writing notes down. I've been writing notes down about it for probably the last 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
All kinds of documents with all just kind of random thoughts that came through my head of the type of products I could sell, type of venues I could do. So after much planning, I just finally decided to dig into it and went ahead and um, got with the city council of Bowman, Georgia, because I was really originally, well, I'll tell you, I was going to start either have my stand here in Carlton, which is where I live, Madison County,
Mm-hmm.
or I was going to go up the road to Elberton, which is in Elbert County.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ran across somebody who was like, you need to check out Bowman. It's a little town, but there's a lot of traffic that passes through there between some of the neighboring northeastern Georgia towns. Like you might be familiar with Hartwell,
Yeah, Lake Hartwell and all
Royston.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all just a hop, skip, and a jump, all in the same area. So I looked at the area, talked to the city council. They offered me a spot at their community center where I could set up. And shoot, I've been doing it. This will be my fourth weekend doing it. Um, been basically it's primarily produce that I um, purchase like a wholesale
Okay.
down in South Georgia. Melons, cantaloupes, I get peaches. I've had plenty of tomatoes. I've had some corn. So I either buy it from like a wholesale market
Mm-hmm.
or I'll get it directly from like a farmer who's selling at the market. And I purchase it, bring it up here, sell it. As my crops start coming in, my vegetables, I plan on selling some of those at the stand. Plan on selling some beef at the stand as well. I've got a friend in Athens who owns a honey and bee product store
Oh
in downtown
wow.
Athens. And so been talking to him and I'll probably end up getting some of his products to sell at my stand. Um, and I just intend on expanding from here. My vision is to have a, a, a produce store, with locally grown products, uh, produce grown in Georgia, maybe Florida, and maybe South Carolina as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I know some farmers and getting connected with even more fruit and vegetable farmers, who produce, quality stuff. So that's my vision is to have a full round the clock produce market. So that's where I'm heading right now. Like I said, I still have my daytime 9 to 5, um, but I'll tell you, it pays the bills, and having a career is great.
Mm-hmm.
It's great career wise. It's great for paying your bills.
Right.
Um, and technically, I'm using my degree. However, one thing I also learned in all of, my epiphany when it came to land ownership and when I eventually got my land and eventually just really thought about, okay, wow, here you are. You're on your own land. This is what you wanted. This is what you wanted all those years. You thought it was going to come later, but it came way sooner than later. And now here you are. I mean, within a few months after buying my property, it took a while before it really dawned on me.
Right. Before it
Like,
actually hit you. Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, this is yours. It's nobody else's. Nobody's coming to take it away either.
Yep.
It is all yours. You've got a piece of land that nobody is touching right now. Even if you don't do anything with it, nobody else is doing anything with it either.
Right. It's still yours.
It's still mine. And I just had to really step into that. And then I had to really remember what it was I originally always set out to do. And that was to farm. And that was to have my own damn agribusiness. And not work for somebody else's.
Right. Right.
And the thing is, and I think in this day and age, more than any other time, I think we as a people have to realize we've always, no matter what little we've always had everything we've needed right in front of us to do our own damn thing. When it comes to owning land, when it comes to owning a business, when it comes to self-employment, when it comes to just using your own creativity to build your wealth. And, I realized, I've worked with USDA for quite a while now, and I'm not going to put them down or anything because I firmly believe in the organization,
Mm-hmm.
and I have love for it. I have love for our mission, and that goes for every other, whether it be governmental agency, whether it be private-owned company. But I wanted my own damn thing. That's what I originally set out to do. So I said, well, that's what I'm going to do. And that's what I decided to do. And, again, I have a lot in my vision for this business, for the produce stand, and for the farm. It's truly my passion. I truly enjoy just being out there, connecting with the people, providing a valuable good and service to the community, and just being so much in touch, like literally in touch, touching food and agriculture. That's genuinely my passion. So man, it's been a blessing. And like I said, I got a lot in my vision for the business, but it took a lot of planning. But again, it's what I asked for from God, and He gave it to me. And now I'm just trying to hit the ground running with it.
Right. And make the most out of it. I can tell, like I said, just by looking at the different things that you got going on, man, like you said, it's your passion. Once you set out and, like you said, you made your plans and whatnot, and now that you set out and you got the stand, you got your farm, it's like everything is slowly and surely coming together. You just continue to work at it, man, and you're going to have everything that you want and be in the position that you want to be in, because it's definitely falling into place.
Yeah, you're right.
So
Yes, sir, it is.
I can't express, my level of happiness enough, just to see you out doing your thing. And that's why when I came across, like your profile and just checking out your farm and whatnot, it's like, man, I got to get this dude on. I need to talk to him and just find out, more about him and how he got this farm thing going. And like I said, if it wasn't for COVID, we could have did this face to face. But at the bare minimum, I'm gonna make my way up to Bowman and pick up some fruits and vegetables. Get one of them big old watermelons I see on the pictures every other weekend, man. So I I'm definitely gonna get up there and try to pick up some stuff from you. Man,
I look forward to it.
let people know, before I get you out of here, let people know where they can find you on Instagram, where they can find the farm, where you can find the stand, man. Let people know where you at out here.
So you can find me on Instagram at Kenny_from the block. You can find me on Facebook, Kendall R. Strickland. I will have some Facebook and Instagram pages for my farm and my produce stand separately, coming very soon. The name of my farm is Strickland Heritage Farms. The name of my produce stand is Strickland Pride Produce. My farm is in Carlton, Madison County, Georgia, and my stand is in Bowman, Georgia, and Elbert County. And soon I will also be operating here in Carlton. So
Wow.
follow me on Instagram. I will let you know when my pages are ready. I could have had them ready by now, but like I said, when I do something, I try to do it all the way. So I'm trying to plan out everything I can ahead of time as far as, what I want, what content I want to put out there, how frequently I want to post, making sure that I start consistently before I actually launch the pages. So, but those will be coming very, very soon. And again, if you want to hit me up, if you want to, any questions about anything agriculture related, any requests for any particular type of, fruit or vegetable, please hit me up and let me know. And I'll be glad to try to satisfy that request.
Man,
Um,
it sounds good to me, brother. Like I said, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming by and sharing
yeah,
your story with me, man. And like I said, I'll be up there before too long to go and pick up some stuff for myself firsthand.
sounds good, man. Let me know whatever you need, and I'll have it right there for you. And
Awesome.
I appreciate the opportunity here. I appreciate you reaching out to me. You do really good work. Um, I think it's great for our people to see us, out here, you know, loving, truly appreciating the outdoors, getting back to our roots with it, really just taking full advantage of what we have right in front of us, especially during times like this, where, I mean, probably one of the few safe things to do right now is to be hunting or fishing
Yes.
compared to anything else,
Yes. Definitely.
So you, please, man, keep it up. I love seeing it. I look forward to seeing more of your work. I truly appreciate the opportunity.
Oh man, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Kid,
Yes, sir.
we'll definitely link up soon, and I'll be talking to you.
All right, Mr. Bryant, you take care. I appreciate you, man.
All right now.
All righty.
Bryant Land.
Once again, I'd like to thank Kendall Strickland for coming through on the Bryant Land Show. Really enjoyed talking to Kendall, talking about land ownership, farming, and the like. I mean, again, I can't stress enough. If you have the opportunity or the means to pursue land ownership, I am a big proponent of it, and it was good to talk to someone of that mindset. And with Kenny's farm stand, selling all the great fruits and fresh fruits and vegetables, I'm definitely going to make a trip up there to go check him out and maybe cop some nice fruits and vegetables for myself. Before I get ready to get up on out of here, guys, I just want to remind y'all the website, BryantLandCountry.com. Man, we got everything on the website. We got the past podcasts. We got videos. We got merchandise. Everything that you need. Patreon for bonus content. Go to our website, BryantLandCountry.com. Has everything Bryant Land for you. Once again, want to thank you all for supporting the podcast, making the download. Make sure you guys continue to tell 5 people, to tell 5 more people about our podcast. We're doing great things here on the show. We got some more guests lined up for the rest of July. Great shows coming down the pipe right here for the rest of the month of July. And before you know it, it'll be August and deer season will be getting started. I know I can't wait. I'm sure you can't too. In the meantime, you guys take care of yourselves and make sure you come back here next week for another episode of The Bryant Land Show.